Hey, what's going on? It's Chris from Daily Tech, and I'm here at WWDC, and the event just wrapped up. There's a new Mac Pro. I want to talk about that in just a second. In fact, let me tell you how this video is going to go. Instead of just regurgitating all the different news like a bunch of different outlets are going to do, what I want to do is tell you what I'm personally most excited about. So this is going to be a different order than probably what you're going to see everywhere else. And I want to start with something that I think everybody can get excited about, and that is the new changes to the iPad. We have iPadOS, some big changes. First of all, this is a huge thing for me. I hope you can tell how excited I am. We can now plug in external storage, whether it's a thumb drive or like a 2 terabyte drive for doing video editing, exactly what I want to do. Hey, what's up, dude? You can do that now, and that just makes this a whole different, much better device for me personally. With iPadOS, there's also a new home screen, but it's really just the old home screen with the widgets attached to the side. So while this is very cool, I just told you guys in the last iPad video that I did, the widgets are sort of my jumping off point. It's where I get started. And so to have those right on the home screen without having to swipe over, that's gonna be amazing. And yes, there are planes flying right over and it's gonna get loud. Something else that I'm super excited about for the iPad is multi-window capability. So, like I've been saying for video after video after video, you can now have multiple instances of the same app open at the same time. So like if you wanna have one note over here, another note over here, one to reference, one to actually type in, you can finally do that. And that's something I've been wanting forever. So that and external storage, already, we're off to an amazing start. Honestly, this is the best WW in years, like since 2007. The Files app is also getting some good updates, but there's a new column view and you can get some quick actions for stuff. And we're also getting iCloud Drive folder sharing for the Files app, along with SMB file sharing. So some big upgrades people have been wanting for a long time. Something else that's a huge deal for iPad users is that you're gonna get desktop class browsing just automatically, and it's gonna be optimized for the touch screen. Now, this is gonna work with like Google Docs. People have been asking me forever how to use that. Now you can just use that without worrying about it. Two other things, Safari's also given us a download manager on the iPad, as well as 30 new keyboard shortcuts. And if you see me reading, it's because I am. I took some notes. I'm trying to get this video up fast. There's also some really cool new gestures, like if you want to copy and paste, you can do kind of like a finger spread and a finger drop to copy, cut, and paste, which is pretty cool. And finally, we got rid of shake to undo. So now if you want to undo, there's just a 3-finger swipe. So much better. So we do have a new Mac Pro. It looks like an updated cheese grater, as we used to call them. And this is something I'm super excited about. This is kind of nostalgic. It's like when I got to know Apple as a company and Macs back in college, it was really with the old Mac Pro with that cheese grater case. This is like an updated version of it. So the first thing to know, it's modular and it's expandable. So you have PCI expansion. On top of that, it's got big performance. You got up to 28 cores, a massive heat sink, so it can run unconstrained for an unlimited amount of time. You're also gonna get up to 1.5 terabytes of system memory. And this thing can handle 3 8K streams without any proxy footage in Final Cut Pro. This is amazing. Something that's kind of funny is that they added or included a headphone jack. So go ahead and start laughing down in the comments right now. Except don't if you're a pro and you do like music stuff and you wanted that and needed it. Well, you got it. There's also a new Pro monitor, the Pro Display XDR, which we gotta talk about because this is equally amazing. It's almost as amazing as the new Mac Pro. So this is a 32-inch LCD Retina 6K display. It's HDR. It goes up to 1,000 nits of brightness, and that never like dims or anything. It's always running at 1,000, which is amazing. It's got an anti-reflective coating, which is great. You can connect up to 6 displays at once. That is insane. Oh, and you can stick it in portrait mode, which is cool. Some people like that. So we have a new version of macOS, and it's called macOS Catalina. Some big news here that we were kind of expecting is that iTunes got broken up a little bit, and so what we have now is a music app, a podcast app, and a TV app. No more iTunes. Honestly, I'm gonna spend most of my time in the music app. And I'm gonna check out the podcast, and I'm gonna check out the TV stuff, but I'm gonna do those things on other devices. For TV, it's probably gonna be like my iPad or my actual TV. And for podcasts, that's just gonna happen on my phone, probably. So Project Marzipan has turned into Project Catalyst officially. And what this means for Mac people is that if a developer had an iOS app that you really loved that wasn't on the Mac yet, it should be very easy, hopefully, for them to port that over. Basically, you're gonna get more apps for your Mac. Are they gonna be any good? That remains to be seen. Hopefully so. I have some optimism for this, that it's going to turn out well, but we're gonna have to see. Also, there's a question of, are these gonna be available outside of the Mac App Store? Kind of guessing not. You may have to go through the App Store on the Mac, but we're gonna have to see. We got something else that's pretty cool for the Mac that uses the iPad. It's called Sidecar. So no longer do you have to use something like Duet Display if you want to use your iPad as a second monitor for your Mac. This is pretty cool. This is like a native functionality. I'm pretty excited about this. On top of that, if you want to use the pencil with your Mac as kind of a graphics tablet, Wacom style, then you could do that now too. And I think it's gonna be pretty amazing. Honestly, this is really great for travel. Like if you wanna go hit up the coffee shop or something, like I was just chilling in the coffee shop, it'd be great if I could have my Mac right here and the iPad right here and use them together. One of my absolute favorite announcements of the day, and I almost put this right up at the front, was the fact that for TVOS, you can now use an Xbox or a PlayStation controller with your games on your TV. TVOS needed something, some kind of a kick in the pants to get gaming off the ground and to make it much better. And hopefully this is gonna drive more adoption and development, and I can't wait to see where this particular thing goes. Something else I'm super excited about as a CarPlay user is the new CarPlay dashboard, which gives you a lot more information on your CarPlay screen and does things like when you use Siri, it's gonna get out of the way. It's not gonna take up the whole screen and take over completely. So CarPlay just got a lot better. The CarPlay music app has been redesigned a little bit too, and it's just more intuitive. It's a better use of the screen space. Something else that's brilliant, that was completely unexpected, for me at least, I think for everybody, is the new Apple login feature. So you've seen a button that say log in with Google or log in with Facebook. Now you can log in, developers can build this into apps with Apple. And the amazing thing about this is you can create an account with no shared personal information. It authenticates using Face ID, which is very cool, on your device. And if you don't want to even give your email out, you don't have to, you can. An app developer can say, hey, can I have your email? If you don't want to give them your email, you can get a one-time disposable email that's going to work with that sign up, so you don't have to give out your personal information. It's really awesome. Big news for Apple Watch fans, we did get an app store on the Apple Watch, which means you can install and run apps and buy apps natively on your watch without the need of your phone separately. So this is one more important step on the road to better, more independence for the Apple Watch. So how this is gonna work is you're gonna be able to load it up, and just like the regular app store that you're used to on your phone, you're gonna be able to see a bunch of apps that have been curated by the Apple team, like suggestions. You can also search the entire app store using dictate or swipe, so you can type stuff out to find whatever you're after too. I'm really excited about this. As much as I like the health stuff on the Apple Watch, I really like all the other stuff, and I hope that this brings more Apple Watch development outside of just the health realm. Something else that's really cool about that is that you're also gonna get automatic software updates right to the apps on your watch. Automatic. Great. Another announcement that I loved, that I'm really excited about as somebody who uses the HomePod, is that the HomePod can now finally recognize who's talking to it. So if I say something to it, and if I say make a note or something, it's gonna make a note in my account. Or if I ask for a music recommendation, it's gonna give me something that I like rather than everybody in my house maybe has muddled it up with their own suggestions, right? It's more personalized, and that makes it more useful. Something else that I think probably people kind of expected, but that's here officially, that's been out elsewhere, but is finally here, is AirPod sharing. So if you're listening to something great and you want to share that with a friend, you both have AirPods, you can now easily do that with just one tap. Now, you can maybe file this under the boring category because there was so many things that were announced today, but it's something I am excited about, and it's some performance improvements. So Face ID in the new iOS is gonna unlock 30% faster. more speed is always better. Updates in iOS are 60% smaller. Now this is a big deal, right? Because by the time I get around to updating stuff, there's like 48 apps waiting to update. So to make that process faster and not to have to wait and tap on stuff trying to get whatever I actually wanted to open that's been updating to open faster, this is something I'm just really gonna appreciate. Finally, apps are also gonna launch 30% faster. This is great. So TVOS got some other cool updates as well. So if you have multiple people that watch different stuff on your TV, now that's getting a little bit more personalized as well. Sort of like what happened with Siri on the HomePod that I just mentioned. So if you want to watch something that you're really interested in, you want good recommendations for you, not just for whatever your whole family has been watching and recommendations based on that, that's going to happen now in TVOS. So there's a new TVOS control screen, and that's great. I'm glad that the Apple TV just hasn't been forgotten about. Actually saw some cool updates today that I think are going to be great for everybody that uses that. I'm actually very excited for those. But beyond that, there's some other cool stuff. Like there's a great music experience now to be had in the music app on your TV. You're gonna be able to see the lyrics synced in real time to whatever you're listening to. Just kind of cool. If you got that song playing on your TV, because you got the great home theater, I mean, you might as well know what people are saying. So this video could go on and on and on and on. I promise though that I prioritize things in kind of the order that I was most excited for things. I'm gonna just briefly mention some stuff that were like kind of interesting at the very end, but I'm gonna continue with the actually interesting stuff with a few new apps that are made by Apple that are coming to iOS. One that I'm really excited about, and you guys know this because I already told you about this a couple of videos back, is the Reminders app. We heard that this was coming and I'm excited that it's here. It looks kind of like it's taken some features from a few other productivity apps. I'm not sure how well it's going to work for me, but I live in the Reminders app already. Like more than to-do lists, more than calendar. So to make this thing that's so integrated with Siri better and more powerful is gonna be great for me personally. So some of the new Reminder app features include just being able to type whatever you want, and Reminders is gonna understand when and where it should be notifying you. There's also a new quick type bar, and there are smart lists which are gonna help you better keep track of all your stuff. Notes is another app that's getting a bit of an update and an overhaul, and this is cool for me because I'm always switching around, you guys know that. I just switched back from Bear to Notes. So this was great timing for me to have all the new Notes features. Like what? Well, we're getting a new gallery view, we're getting shared folders, and some more. I'm gonna stop talking and wait for this plane to go by. Something else that's kind of cool with Safari that I should just mention is that we're getting per website preferences. This is kind of cool. It's like in the podcast app, you can do per podcast preferences, and I use that all the time to tweak stuff that I frequently listen to. Well, if there's a website that you're frequently visiting, then this is a great way to tweak and tune your browsing experience. Something that's kind of crazy that I didn't expect, well, I didn't expect it to be exciting, was an update, or several updates, to Maps. For starters, Apple's been out there with all kinds of planes and cars mapping the heck out of the US and all around the world. So now, the maps are much more detailed. Much more detailed. So there's a few interesting things like a new favorites bar. That's interesting, but what's really cool is the Google Street View duplicate or copy, which you'll get if you hit the binoculars button, and they call it look around, which makes sense. But you finally have a Street View alternative in Apple Maps, which was one huge feature that I always felt was missing, and I'm gonna be really glad to actually see and use. Apple was definitely out here hitting the privacy thing really hard. So there was a really interesting line where Craig's up here talking about you don't have to flip a switch when you're in Maps to turn on like a private mode. It's just always private. It's not there to share your personal info. And your location data is a big chunk of your personal info. So Siri on AirPods got another cool update. So if you're wearing AirPods like I am right now, and someone texts you, it can read that message to you, and you can respond to it without having to say, yo Siri. That's perfect because I'm wearing AirPods all day long. So anything that makes it easier to communicate with people and be more present is great. So Apple had a bunch of cool privacy-focused HomeKit integrations, and one of those things was the ability to better protect the video feed coming out of your home security cameras. So for instance, your Logitech Circle gear, I think, check the description, I'll link to the actual stuff that they announced today, is going to be a lot more, because that's one thing that I personally have always wondered, who's having access to these feeds of my doorbell and my upstairs and downstairs. Nobody needs to see that except for me. And so I would feel a lot better about having Apple take control of that than that living in any other company's cloud. Something else that's kind of interesting is that there's some built-in editing stuff coming to the camera finally on your iPhone, and that includes things like filters or being able to adjust the contrast, so there's no need to take the photo in one app, in the native app, and then jump into some other app just to get your editing done. And the really cool thing for somebody like me, and really for everybody, is that you can also apply filters and change the color and stuff in videos. Along the same lines, if you want to rotate a video, you don't have to open up iMovie anymore, which is always a ridiculous thing that you had to do. You can actually edit it right there in the app. Something that we've seen forever ago, but that's still kind of neat that was announced today, is a swipeable keyboard. Now, of course, those have been around forever on iOS and Android, but what's cool here is that I would feel more comfortable swiping my information into an Apple keyboard just because of their stance on privacy than it would any other keyboard. So yeah, I mean, this is cool for me. Screen time is coming to the Mac, so if you're a parent, maybe that's something you're interested in, or if you just want to better manage your time and sync that up with your other iOS devices where you're already tracking it, then this is a more holistic approach, which is something I can appreciate. And one little detail that I think might get lost for everybody that wasn't actually paying attention is that Siri is going to start sounding a lot more natural, a lot better in iOS 13. There's a demo from the keynote when you can hear what Siri sounded like in iOS 12 and what it now sounds like in iOS 13, and there is a major difference just on the way it enunciates and pronounces and focuses on the different syllables and stuff. It's cool because you're talking to Siri quite a bit, it might as well sound good. Now we get to the part of the video where I'm going to mention some things that I'm just less excited about. And honestly, I haven't talked about dark mode, I'm talking about it right now. It's interesting, but I'm not the type of person who's going to use dark mode just all day by default. It's something that I like to use at night, right? Because it makes it better to read or whatever. So it's interesting, they really hyped that up, and a lot of people really excited about it. It's just kind of like a meh or okay feature for me. We have a new thing called Memoji stickers. That's kind of down here in this section too, because it's kind of neat. I don't use Memojis very much. Maybe some people do, but a sticker version where it automatically creates a bunch of different versions of my face in Memoji format. That's pretty cool. That's something I could pop into a text message and use all over the place. You can use it in mail. It's gonna work all over. There's another new feature for the HomePod. It's called HomePod Handoff. So if you come home and you're listening to something on your phone and you come up to your HomePod, you can continue playing that there. Or if you're leaving and you were listening to something on your HomePod and you're going out to your car, for instance, you can just pick up where you left off. And that's pretty cool. I just don't see myself using it very much because I'm just not going to. Something that's interesting that I'm not sure how much I'm actually going to use is the new activity trends. All right, so activity trends is gonna give you 9 key metrics that it's gonna tackle for you, and it's gonna compare your current performance versus your past performance. The thing is this something that's gonna get in front of my face that is actually going to motivate me, or is it just gonna be another thing that I don't really open and use? That's what remains to be seen. I want to like it, it's just how motivating is it actually gonna be? So there are some new watch faces, and honestly, I think that's cool. You can't go wrong with more, but I tend to prefer something that's more information dense. I wanna see a bunch of complications, and not necessarily something that just looks cool. Sometimes on the weekend, I'll swipe over so it's less distracting and get something that's a little bit simpler. So it remains to be seen how much information I can fit in these new watch faces. So that's why they're kind of in my I'm not so sure about it section of this video. At the beginning of the event, they talked about something that was kind of interesting. It was a clip from one of the new TV shows, and it's about a space race where America didn't make it to the moon first. Now, a lot of people have been kind of lambasting Apple's TV service, thinking that, well, if it's not too edgy, then how's it gonna be any good? How's it gonna compete with Game of Thrones? Well, I'll tell you what, I've been saying for a long time, I think that I'm gonna appreciate this new service. And I think it's gonna be great without being raunchy. And if this show is any indication, and I'll try to link up down to the trailer or the section of the keynote down below where you can see it, this looks pretty entertaining to me. Definitely something I think I could watch. Oh, and I guess you should know the show. It's called For All Mankind. All right, something else that a lot of people have been really excited for is custom fonts, like being able to install and use your own custom font. And apparently this is something that's gonna show up in the App Store, so you can pick out a great font to use. I'm not really doing any like hardcore designing or anything on my iPad, for instance. So I don't know how much of an impact this is actually gonna have on me and the work that I do every day. But I know a lot of people do design or just want to customize stuff. So for them, this is going to be probably more exciting than it feels like it is for me. All right, we got some new official Apple Watch apps from Apple. Things like voice memos, a calculator. It was nothing like groundbreaking. We still don't have notes, right? Unless I missed something. Like no notes. That's frustrating, kind of. Voice memos, okay. I've been using just press record as like a workaround. It's like Apple's a little bit late to the party here with porting over these apps of theirs. The calculator app, super dorky, I know, but at least that is kind of different because it can like calculate a tip for you and split it between your friend if you're at the restaurant. So the health app has been totally redesigned, and you know what? I want that app to be cooler. This is another thing I just don't know how is it gonna work in the real world. Am I ever gonna get in there and actually look at it and use it now that it looks like it's gonna be more useful? That's the question. Something else that was announced is more portrait lighting effects in the Photos app. This is in my I don't know section because it's not something that I already use very much. Portrait mode, portrait lighting. I do use portrait mode sometimes. Portrait lighting though, not so often. Because I don't know, sometimes it just hasn't looked very good. So I'll have to try out the new modes and see if they're actually worth using. So this one's on my we'll see how it goes list. Something else that was announced from the stage, but I don't know how much it really matters, is new screensavers for TVOS. We've already had like space, so now they're going underwater. I don't doubt that it's gonna look good. I'm sure it is, but it's just not something I'm gonna sit here and drool over. All right, so that is it. Those are the things that I'm super interested in and excited about here at WWDC, which just wrapped up. Now I'm gonna go try to get this uploaded before everybody else. Thanks for watching. Don't forget you can follow at Daily Tech, spelled Daily TEKK, on Instagram and Twitter. And today is a very good day to go check out the Insta stories. Stay tuned to the channel though. You guys asked me to kind of give you a tour of the Apple Visitor Center. And so I went out and got some great footage of that yesterday. Might go there and get some more today because I know not everybody can get there to experience it for themselves. So I'm gonna let you guys know what that's like. Here's a hint. They have very good coffee. And you know how much I like that. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.